Am I the asshole for blowing up at my boyfriend, just because he was ignorant? His words. I'll try to keep this short. I, 19 female, slept over at my boyfriend's, 23 male, place, and I unexpectedly got my period during the night, a regular cycle. He freaked out. I was embarrassed, and offered to wash the sheets. He wasn't having any of it, and basically told me I must be irresponsible and disgusting, yelling the whole time. At that point I got annoyed too, and told him he was acting like a real asshole. I went to take a quick shower and was about to go home when he stopped me to continue the argument. I explained to him that I can't control when they happen, that they can be irregular as hell, and that they're not that gross. He was talking about throwing away the sheets. The stain wasn't even that big and I put them in the washer before I showered. He told me that he didn't know those things, and that I'm unreasonable for being mad at him for just a misunderstanding, and that he couldn't have known since they didn't teach him that in school. Obviously I'm not mad at him for not knowing, I'm mad at him for assuming he knew better and reacting by yelling at me. He's mad because I'm mad, and he thinks I can't be mad about ignorance, since it's not his fault. I apologized for calling him an asshole, but he doesn't want to apologize for yelling. Am I the asshole? I only want him to apologize for yelling. Not the asshole, but those are some huge red flags. Apologizing will tell him he is right to go screaming about his assumption. You need to sit with him and have a calm, rational conversation about what you are mad about and how he could have acted differently, and if he is unwilling or incapable of doing so, then the relationship is probably doomed. Not the asshole. 1. He shouted at you first. 2. He is 23 years old. Using school as an excuse doesn't fly, he has had plenty of time to educate himself. 3. He treated it as if it was a serious biohazard that needed to be dealt with majorly. 4. He tried to turn it around and make you responsible for how he acted. I'm ignorant, so it's your fault I yelled at you. Is that someone you want to spend your time with? Not the asshole. Ignorance. You got period blood on the sheets. Why didn't you put down protection? Didn't you know it was about to happen? Does blood stain permanently? Assholery. You're disgusting and irresponsible. Let me yell at you aggressively and make sure you know just how lowly I think of you as a person. The first example is an ignorant person addressing the issue, making their assumptions known, and inviting new information to inform them. The second example is an ignorant asshole lashing out at a person, not the issue, and entrenched in their assumptions instead of inviting correction. Not the asshole. You shouldn't have apologized for calling an asshole an asshole. Not the asshole. You're dating an asshole. Not the asshole. He's a 23-year-old man. Even if he didn't know that you could get your period unexpectedly, his reaction is all out of whack, especially since you woke up and offered to fix the mess. How is it you're unreasonable when he was the one shouting at you? Not the asshole. And really, sex education needs to be better. Why didn't his own mother tell him this stuff? Did she think he wouldn't ever find out about it? Not the asshole. I think it's messed up that he specifically stopped you to continue the argument. Does he do that a lot? 23 years old. You can find much better. Not the asshole, but lose this weight. Not the asshole. His ignorance isn't your responsibility. He should have tried to treat you with respect and asked questions, not accused you of things. Also, if someone has sex, that person should understand the equipment involved. He sounds immature AF. And you aren't mad for his ignorance. You're mad because he acted like a dickhead. Big difference. Not the asshole. But you need to up your game for real. How you gonna be with a dude who wants to bang but doesn't know what a period is? Polly friend of mine had tampons, pads, Plan B morning after pills, extra toothbrush, menstrual pain meds just in case any girl he was with randomly needed something. He may have had a physical therapist on call in case the girl pulled a muscle during sex, for all I know. Never mind the fact that he doesn't know much about periods. If he can't give a simple apology for yelling at you, he isn't a real adult. Consider exiting stage left. Don't you hate it when boyfriends get mad at you for being upset when they act like jerks? Whether or not he knew that periods can be irregular sounds like a stretch to me. You obviously felt bad and were embarrassed. Even if you weren't already, you certainly would have been after the way he acted. He shamed you for a natural bodily function, and refused to let it go when you were clearly done with the harassment. That's not okay. Also, not the asshole. Not the asshole. Even if he didn't know, his reaction was unreasonable. If my partner wet the bed one night out of the blue, I wouldn't jump out and start screaming at him. I'd be like, OMG, what happened, are you okay? I would help him shower, wash the sheets, etc. Your boyfriend's reaction is what makes him the major A. Besides his apparent indifference to your health, he doesn't understand periods but isn't concerned when lots of blood randomly comes out of you, and his deliberate lack of education on the subject. He's 23. He has access to the net. No excuse. NTA. But his inability to take responsibility for his mistakes is a huge red flag, and don't be surprised when it becomes a regular occurrence in your arguments, fights. I'm surprised no one is talking about how he stopped you from leaving just to keep arguing with you. That's fucked up and the most abusive part of this awful interaction. For that reason alone I'd advise you to dump him. Not the asshole, but yikes girl, you've got some serious thinking to do. These are some major red flags. Not the part about him not knowing, but him screaming in your face about something that honestly wasn't a big deal. What else will he scream at you about, and then try to brush off and say you're the unreasonable one? Like, who the hell calls screaming in your face a misunderstanding? Not the asshole. Why the fuck are you apologizing at all? Would you yell at him for having a wet dream or pissing the sheets? You didn't bleed on purpose. His lack of empathy is weird. Like, you'd probably be embarrassed by that. A good boyfriend would empathize, help clean sheets, and reassure you that it's okay and that he's not mad. This guy sucks. Not the asshole. How does he not know how periods work? I was taught about it early on. Even ignoring that, he's being an asshole who won't just own up to his asshole-ish behavior. The "he didn't know how it worked" excuse doesn't cut it. He's an ignorant fuck. Please tell him to watch a video on how a woman's reproductive system works. Start with the 5th grade level, since it may be too hard for him to understand the adult level of how the female body works. Sorry, but him to say shit like that is ignorant and also shows what a moron he is. I hope he doesn't think you piss out of your vagina, and babies aren't pooped out. Sorry, he's the asshole, not you. I have a daughter and she had an accident also for her first period. I made sure to tell her it's her body and it's natural. We can clean all this up and not a big issue, don't worry about it. Gave her a hug and we washed what we could, threw away what we couldn't save. Not the asshole, and remember that quote. When people show you who they really are, believe them. This is exactly the kind of reaction you can expect from him every time he thinks he knows better than you, including about your own body. If he refuses to ever apologize, take note of that and go in eyes open if you choose to keep this relationship. Not the asshole. Ignorance or not, if his first reaction to something embarrassing happening to you is to yell and shame you, you need to take a serious look at your relationship. Add to that the fact that he's trying to twist the story into you being irrationally upset about his ignorance, instead of acknowledging his bad behavior, which he had complete control over, and you gotta throw the whole boyfriend out at this point. Not the asshole. Even if he didn't know, reacting with anger instead of trying to understand or asking questions is still not okay. NTA. He's an adult. He could have educated himself. If he want to be in a relationship with a woman who is going to have periods for the next how many years, he should know something about how they work. What, does he think you should sleep in a tent in the backyard every month? Not the asshole. Do yourself a favor and dump him. He wouldn't even be the sharpest tool in a ball pit. So because he didn't know, he gets to yell, scream and belittle you. Not the asshole. Girl, did you really just ask if you're the asshole for getting your period? All of you need to grow up. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, dump him. He's a loser. Not the asshole. Obviously, I just wanted to share a little tip in case you don't know it yet. Before you put the sheets in the washer, wash out the stain with cold water. Cold water cleans blood much better than the hot water of the washer. He's not ready to date someone who menstruates. Not the asshole. DTMFA. Not the asshole. He needs to educate himself before he's worth your time and energy. Not the asshole. Try explaining to him that it was the yelling that makes him an asshole. That and calling you disgusting. Ignorance does not excuse those things. If he doesn't get it, then time to kick him to the curb. Not the asshole. He overreacted by saying it is disgusting and that you ruined it on purpose. Not the asshole. Not knowing isn't an excuse to go off the rail on you. Not the asshole. Yelling at someone for something they can't help is mean, even if a person doesn't understand. I mean, men have wet dreams they can't help, and it would be abusive and cruel to berate one for soiling the sheets. I don't think ignorance is an excuse. He can't help being surprised or confused or even scared for your health, but he's responsible for responding with anger and insults. Not the asshole. It's entirely possible to be ignorant and not throw a fit. If he's ignorant, what he should have done was ask questions. He just launched into outrage instead. I had food poisoning really bad once. When I nodded off, I let it slip. Yes, I shit the couch. My boyfriend walked in at the exact moment I stood up and realized what I had done. You know what he did when I ran away to clean myself up? He cleaned the couch before I got out of the shower so I wouldn't be embarrassed. Get you a man who cleans up your shit, or period blood, not one that yells at you for it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend needs to grow up. Also, what the fuck? I could go on about society's desperate need for some real sex education, but I'll save that for another day. Yeah, maybe it isn't his fault that they didn't teach him in school, but it's definitely his fault now for not educating himself. You're unreasonable because he didn't know things? How about he's unreasonable because he didn't know thing? Look, not the asshole, but honestly he's 19. There's a big maturity gap between 19 and 23, even if it doesn't seem that different. However, he's still 19, and there's pretty much no excuse to not know that periods are unpredictable and not within our control. Edit. Mixed up their ages, he's 23. Not the asshole. You're not mad at him for being ignorant. You're mad at him for using his ignorance to justify responding with anger, which is shitty. You can be ignorant and not mean and insulting. Not the asshole. The initial, ew, blood, I could understand if he hadn't basically immediately flown off the handle. Look, I have periods, on the times it comes early or I have a leak, ew, blood, is my reaction, and then I get down to what needs to be done, cleaning up, etc. Honestly, I'd be willing to bet this dude is the type to ask if you've been cheating on him when your vagina feels more relaxed during sex, and/or ask if you've been cheating on him if he sees discharge in your underwear because he'll think it's semen. I can't imagine he has any good qualities that outweigh his ignorance and inappropriate anger response. Not the asshole. While ignorance about sexual health is a big issue and it may not be his fault that he's only finding out about it now, he really does need to own up to his ignorance, not use it as a shield to avoid accountability. Not the asshole. If you aren't supposed to be mad at his reaction because of ignorance, he has to excuse your ignorance in assuming he would be informed of the way the body works as an adult. I once had an unexpected period on my first sleepover with a man about this age, who had just arrived from Pakistan, where I doubt he received a formal and complete education about sexuality and women's bodies. The age of the woman has nothing to do with it. I was older than you at the time and we didn't magically control blood that wants to exit our bodies with time. He said, periods are natural, and lent me one of his clean boxers. We changed the sheets and had a shower together, then went back to sleep and dated after that for a while. Not the asshole. There's a saying that you can't fix stupid. You also can't fix mean. This should be your ex. Not the asshole. Drop his ass. Not the asshole. He is 23 and, presumably, sleeping with a woman. He has been out of school for at least 5 years and grew up with the internet. He can't blame school anymore. Surely he knows where babies come from and sees tampon ads. He's using this as an excuse, and he's too lazy to listen to you tell him what's going on, and too lazy to look up menstruation for himself. He's a dick. Not the asshole. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and agree that his ignorance from lack of education was at fault. That still does not excuse his reaction. He had no right to call you names and scream at you. And the fact that even though you have now educated him he refuses to apologize is unacceptable. Not the asshole. Let me help you here. The proper response he should have had was as follows: check if you are okay. Offer to swap the sheets while you clean yourself up. Cuddle you and reassure you that you didn't do anything wrong. Make you something yummy to eat. See. His response was entirely wrong. I think he might be broken. You should trade him in for a better model. Not the asshole. Dump him. He sounds like an asshole.